Hi folks, this video series will be an introduction to RPG writing and design using the Neverwinter Nights Aurora toolset. For my first video, I wanted to briefly discuss why I've chosen the Aurora toolset as my platform for doing these tutorials. So for those of you who haven't heard of it before, the Aurora toolset is a module design kit that came bundled with the 2002 BioWare RPG called Neverwinter Nights. The base game itself was made using the toolset, so just playing through the game's base campaign will give players an idea of the capabilities of Aurora, and they are quite impressive. The base game was later augmented with 3 expansions. We had Shadows of Undertide in June 2003, Hordes of the Underdark in December of 2003, and Kingmaker in November 2004. The content of these expansions was also integrated and made available within the toolset. Now, for someone who wants to get into game development, there are usually 2 recommendations. These are the big comprehensive game engines that can pretty much do anything from 2D platformers to FPS games. These are of course Unity and the Unreal Engine. In my personal quest to write an RPG, I have played about with both of these, but ultimately I always return to the Aurora toolset, primarily for the built-in benefits that it provides. So here I just wanted to briefly summarize my reasons. Number 1. What Aurora does better than Unity in my opinion. I'm going to speak largely about Unity here since that's the one I've got most experience with, but I think my points will apply equally well to Unreal. Naturally, I'll probably get a lot of disagreement on this, but I wanted to express my own personal opinion of what Aurora does better than the big engines. Because Unity is essentially a sandbox that is not designed specifically for RPG development, specific gameplay systems that you want to build either have to be created from scratch or acquired from the assets store. Unity has developed significantly within the last few years to try and make itself more accessible to beginners, but things like branching dialogue and complex quests are still relatively difficult to implement without custom plugins. For the plugins that exist for this purpose, most are fairly expensive and, in my opinion, still not as easy to work with and configurable as Aurora's dialogue and journal editors. Aurora, on the other hand, will provide you with full access to the D&D 3rd edition rule set, which by default includes things like character sheets, D&D abilities and skills, dialogue and quest customization, and much more. All of this with minimal effort and very easy to learn. All of these features can be replicated in Unity, but it would take significantly more time and effort to achieve the same results. I would like for these tutorials to get you quickly to the point where you have a playable module with a complete storyline, and for this purpose I think Aurora outshines everything else. Number 2. What Aurora does better than the successor toolsets, Neverwinter Nights 2 and the Dragon Age toolkits. Again, speed is critical here, so thanks to Aurora's tileset based level design, we can create impressive looking levels very quickly and spend more time on the actual gameplay aspects. Aurora is also deemed to be much more stable than its successors. It has a larger community of modders, has a ton of free community made assets and a much lower barrier to entry. This is vital, especially if you primarily see yourself as a writer or narrative designer. You do not need extensive skills in scripting or 3D modeling or voice acting in order to make a great module. Number 3. Downsides. Okay, so first of all, you will obviously need to have a legitimate copy of Neverwinter Nights, and I would suggest the enhanced edition that came out in 2018, since Beamdog, the developer, have been making some great quality of life changes to the toolset itself. You can pick this up for around $20 at your favourite online game retailer, but it does also go on sale fairly frequently, so you might be able to get it for less. Considering you have an absolute classic RPG with it, I would say it's probably worth picking up even if you're not going to use the toolset. As a note, the toolset does only run in Windows, so if you're a Linux or Mac user, you will need to get an emulator. Some of the graphics and systems will feel outdated if you're used to newer games. 3rd edition D&D is a lot more esoteric than the current 5th edition, which means we see some needless complexity, but also on the upside we get some very cool character customization stuff like prestige classes, which are missing largely from 5e. The companion system is pretty underwhelming, however this can be scripted around in order to implement the desired functionality, so it shouldn't be a problem. And you'll see with many of the other features that you think are missing or incomplete in the original Neverwinter Nights, there will be some scripting solution that you can use to replicate the functionality that you need. So if you're happy with the downsides and you want to start delving into creating your first module, from my next video I'll be walking you through exactly that. You don't need to have any prior experience of the toolset or scripting. I'll be walking you through everything live as I do it, and I'll explain the concepts as we go. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.